Well, this is a Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. And so I come to a new understanding. Actually, since I have considered from last night up until now, just the significance of our times right now, my time right now. And thinking, look, I do have a tape if I can find it. I hope I still have it, because I don't remember actually who it was that interviewed my grandma Glover, formerly my grandma Witten. But my four uncles on my grandma married this guy named Carl Glover after she got divorced from Charlie Witten, my mom's dad. And then he married Carl Glover, and he had four boys. And then they had Buzz. Well, I think they had Buzz together. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe she got pregnant with. Maybe she got pregnant with Carl. Carl got her pregnant when she might have not been divorced yet, even. But Buzz's last name is Glover, not Witten. So, but he's dead now. He's my Uncle Dave. But anyway, I was gonna say that it was either me or my brother interviewed my grandma. It just goes to show you how memory works. I mean, I tell you the truth, man, I can't remember if I interviewed my grandma for a class or if it was my brother who interviewed my grandma for a class. But I know I copied the tape and everything. Anyway, and she gave kind of a historical summary of her time. And, what her life was like, when she was younger. I mean, I'm talking about like I don't know, probably from, okay, my mom was in high school, like in, like maybe 55 or something. And so, and this is my grandma, my mom's mom, talking about what her life was like, growing up and stuff like that, up until probably like my mom's time, when my mom was in high school. Because of course I know she probably did some overlap. Like I don't really have like a documentary coming from my mom, but I do have like a documentary, if I can find it, coming from my grandma, my mom's mom. And then like I kind of know what my mom's life was like, from stories she told me and everything. And of course I know what my life is like. Well, okay, so that brings me to my life. See, and I'm thinking, my journal entries might actually be beneficial for, I was thinking, one of my grandchildren, because I'm after all a primary source. Like I'm talking to you out of my experience in my life, in my time, in my cohort. Stuff like that. And these times that we're living in right now, I mean, it's like one heck of a book, one heck of a drama. As to see these things played out, it's kind of like when, like when I was younger, of course, like I learned about, World War II and other wars before that, but, World War II. And then, the Vietnam War. And then, I mean, I was in, like the Gulf War in the Gulf, Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm, regarding Hassan Hussein, or whatever his name was. I think it's Hassan Hussein. And President Bush saying, he had, under the advice of Cheney and stuff, lied to the American people, and so we went to war. I listened to Jeffrey Sachs, who's like he's a very rich person, but he is very, like, he's always been very social among the elites, like the presidents and heads of state in all the different countries. Like, he even helped one country develop their money system, their system of money, their monetary system. He helped them do that, a whole country. And he's rubbed shoulders with all the the great people for like many years, at least 35 years. And he was talking to the some Europe conference, a big conference that was held in Europe, and giving his take on things. And he pointed out how the United States is the real bully. Okay. I'm not interested in going into all that right now. But his name is Jeffrey Sachs, and if you wanted to, you could look him up. His stuff is on YouTube. Everything I look at is on YouTube. So, like I said, the world has unfolded. I can see a lot of stuff just on YouTube, and it's free. Well, so that brings me to the things that I've been seeing. All right, and so, I get news from them. Subscribe to certain things. Although, look, I under save videos. Hey, see the save video, watch later, and Thad's Dog Den. And then I was just listening to Lawrence O'Donnell, The Last Word. But you see, I don't have favorites anymore. They just disappeared. And I got watch later, which I've selected. I just figured, well, I like to watch this again. Concentrate on it more. What he was talking about. And I got Dad's Dog Den. That's something that I made on Facebook a long time ago. But all right, look. Hey. See, that case is what this is right here. This is the response of a judge, because Trump, and I have to say his DOJ, Department of Justice, because they do his bidding now, and it's not like a separate branch of government anymore. So that's what it intended to be in the Constitution. The Department of Justice is supposed to be separate from the president. Not supposed to be under the thumb and doing the bidding of the president, for example. But now the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is taking charge of everything that he can. And, that's the way he learned the art of war. Okay? Like, his father, Fred Trump, had a lawyer by the last name of Cohen. I'm pretty sure. If it wasn't Cohen, it was a Jewish guy. And hang on a second, I gotta get a back scratcher. All right, so anyway, it's hot. It's very hot out, and I got the fans off, so I can actually do this better without background noise. And it's hot, and mosquitoes too are out in Florida. But anyway, so he learned from this lawyer, and he's a corrupt guy, man. And Donald Trump comes from corrupt stuff, and a lot of powerful people come from corrupt stuff. Even the Kennedys. And right now, I think it's RFK, which is, he might be a son of either a son or a nephew. I mean, he's in the Kennedy family of John F. Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy. Both of them were, good, but they got their family ties coming from money, and it's just inevitable. Money is really, it's always like, if you follow the money, a lot of times you see a lot of corruption. Well, right now, see, Donald Trump is trying to use one of Sun Tzu's tactics called deception and diversion. And so this is the way that it works, all right? Okay, Donald Trump been dirty all his life. And the thing that irritates me the most is because when he started running for president, he had popularity because he did this show on TV called The Apprentice, I think. And so every night, he would fire somebody. And that was like a big deal, all right? That was when I was younger. I mean, like a kid, still in school. And so, at least I'm pretty sure, I don't think I could have been in college. I don't really know. But I think I wasn't in college yet. I think it was just on regular TV. But anyway, that's when he was younger and stuff. And he'd be on like Howard Stern's, talking about women and stuff, and he's just popular that way. And I could not believe that the Christians of all of the groups in the United States, it had to be the Christians that actually kind of put him in office, because he just said a few words like something, okay, maybe before say he's for Israel, whatever Israel does, because Israel's in the Bible, and Jesus came from Israel, and so whatever. But Israel crucified Jesus too. Don't forget that. The Jews, All right, well, anyway, there's prophecies and stuff like that about Israel and their place in the end of times and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like, we actually could be in the end of times. And, but anyway, let me give you one side note here about the end of times. Last night when I was going to sleep, I was watching something about Area 51. And that's a government test site or whatever. I mean, secret place. Like, all their stuff is like really underground. Like, you got some stuff above ground, but they got a whole complex underground, so nobody can see. And nobody's allowed to go there. And it's top secret and all that. Well, the government is always like way ahead of us as far as technology. At least 20 years. Okay, that's what they say. Okay. Like, the government and the military know about stuff 20 years before it ever is introduced into the public. All right. They're talking about this guy who was working in a top secret area. I'm gonna have to watch it again, but he was talking about that they actually have like this technology where stuff can just disappear. All right. And they're saying that like not far from now, but it was showing, okay, he was talking about, and this show about Area 51 was talking about how where they are receiving like messages from the future. It's really kind of like in a high sci or whatever, what you call I think high sci or something like that movie. Fi-sci, fiction, science fiction, fi-sci. It's something like that, you know. But look, the thing is that even like stuff in like Star Trek and everything, like this stuff is like introduced in the movies, and then all of a sudden, way on down the line, it actually comes into being. Seriously, it works like that a lot. Anyway, so you know, who knows? But what I do know is what's going on right now. And so right now, like you know, Donald Trump is you know, he's like bringing the National Guard and the armed forces of the military in to like Washington D.C. and he sent them to California already, and now he's doing it in D.C. where he is, you know, the White House, and he's gonna do them all around the place, you know, saying he's taking control of crime. Well, I know why he's probably doing it in D.C. because see, he himself started a big protest when he lost his presidency, and he wanted to like keep it by force. Okay, and this is like war. Okay, and they bombarded the White House, and he never got charged with anything, but everybody else did. And then after they got charged with stuff, he pardoned them. Okay, but they were like, you know, like in fact, I'm pretty sure a few people died, and they did all kinds of horrendous things. Just took over the White House, and this is not long ago. All right, and so now, you know, he's bringing troops in, and like he's on the roof the other day of the White House saying he's going to put up nuclear missiles up there. So I say he's crazy, delusional sometimes, I think, you know, and stuff that he says. I mean, if you just listen to him talk, he just, I mean, I think that I ramble sometimes, but he's just he's a basket case, is what you call it. You know, he's like, anybody that'll ever listen to him, he's just incoherent and lying, and just says stuff that ain't even true, stuff that's completely like ridiculous. Like, okay, like for example, talking about, you know, he's going to reduce the prices of drugs, you know, medications that people need, like, you know, important stuff like diabetes and all that, you know. I mean, that stuff, some people, one of my son's friends died because he didn't have enough money for his diabetic medication, his insulin. He died. His name was Nicky. He lived right next to us at my mom's house, and my son, during the Gulf War, was living there. He was a little kid, and Nicky was his friend, his childhood friend, my son Adam. And he died. He couldn't afford his insulin. And anyway, so Trump says, you know, he's going to reduce the prices by 1,500%. Okay, 1,500%. He's going to reduce the prices. Like, that's an impossibility. 100% is a total cost. That's what 100% means. That's a total cost. 1,500%. That's like, you know, you're paying people to take the medicine at that point. And he actually said that. And he's the president of the United States. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you learn that kind of stuff in grade school. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure I knew about 100% what 100% meant before I went to middle school. He says a lot of stuff that's just off the rocker, man. And I could not believe the Christians put him in office, because you can tell he's such a liar. He's always been a liar. He's always been a person with a strong sense of entitlement because he's been a rich boy. and he's a bully. He's always been that, and I can't. Made me so angry. Like when my Aunt Barb was saying on Facebook about, like supporting Trump. Oh, look, it's the same attitude toward anybody. I supported him, I said, I would travel 1,500 miles to piss on your grave. And that's what I feel about it. I'll travel 1,500 miles just to piss on your grave if you support Donald Trump. And she did. And she died. And I was never invited to the funeral. But I still take my stand that way. It makes me angry. And if any of my ever grandchildren, like if they, like I was thinking about like if Bryson ever was trained in such a way that he became like an ICE agent, it would just destroy me. It would destroy me. I don't know how I could handle it. But see, that's why, okay, these Epstein files and stuff like that, they got like the judge, okay, that put out that letter, that document that I wrote, okay, because see, Trump is trying to use a diversionary tactic where, he's saying that he's trying to like release the stuff. I'll release this 300 gigabytes of information that the DOJ put 1,000 people on, 1,000 employees working on, going through all the stuff and finding everything that had to do with Donald Trump and taking it out. Okay, and so they did that, and Donald Trump, president of the United States, he ain't supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. Like, and that's why, like this lady Maxwell, she, who was working with Epstein as a trafficker of children, and these like what you could call like satanic kind of orgies or religious, spiritual kind of stuff where they go and have sex with little kids and they drug them. And that's what I showed them at last talk. This lady was talking about how, this lady's name is Anya something or other, but she was talking about stuff that she experienced when she was drugged as a kid and how her memories came back, and it came through work with therapists, and more than one therapist, they all have the same opinion and give her the same kind of guidance because they're professionals, man. They know what's real. Sometimes some of the stuff can sound so bizarre that you might think it's fake, but as they say, reality is more astounding or something like that than fiction. And all you gotta do is study history and you'll realize that. But anyway, Donald Trump, he's like getting the military and stuff to guard. Okay, now like to guard the White House. Okay, well, it's really funny because he probably understands that somebody especially hurt as a child or something like that, or seen one of their children or something like that hurt. It would not. I mean, it is not a far-fetched idea to think that there would be somebody out there who suffered at the hand of Donald Trump that want to take that mutter butter out if it costs them their life. Because what he's going to do, he's going to pardon, like this lady, Ghislaine Maxwell, okay, for her silence. Just like everybody else in his whole, and everybody else that works around him, they all serve him, and they're all getting their payoffs, and they've all been bribed. And you're going to either take one side or the other because it's a GD war. We're actually in war, all right. And the Bible talks about like war, spiritual warfare. Well, this is spiritual warfare right here. Okay, this is a kind of war that's held in the media, and the government, purporting lies. And so what they do is they make a narrative Okay, they say, like, for example, in this, where the judge points out, because the judge who wrote this letter, and I'm going to actually get it. I'm going to actually see if I can download it from the internet. I can just read it. Now, they've read on TV parts of it and everything, highlighted certain parts, and that's what Lawrence O'Donnell was just doing, He went through it, highlighting parts and commenting on it, and a lot of people, they won't take time to actually download primary sources. But look, I got a graduate degree. I've been reading primary sources for a great long time now, and I already know the importance of paying attention to the primary sources, especially if you don't want to be lied to, or you don't want to believe a lie. You don't want to be beguiled. Beguiled is the word that I have up on my cross, in memory of the poisoned, the beguiled, the slain. Even dogs can be beguiled. That's how they get poisoned. Look, my dog Zoe that I gave Adam. Okay, well that dog was shot in the head out on the sidewalk. Him and Kayla were fighting, and he left. He didn't like that bullshit. Something. Well, he went out on the sidewalk, and somebody obviously shot him close range, like petting him on the side of the head, pull out their gun, and shot him in the head. Close range, petted him first, and shot him in the head. And that's what happens to people too. Right? They pet you. They give you, look at you, just like Judas Iscariot, betrayed Jesus with a kiss. They kiss you. And that's the kiss of death. Yeah. So this is what Donald Trump did to the Christians. He kissed them. It was a kiss of death. Well, as Area 51 says, we're on the brink of utter destruction. And somebody's coming from the future trying to warn us. This is what they said in this documentary about Area 51. Top secret government facility. And look, man, government has a bad reputation, especially the United States government. The stuff that we do abroad and the stuff that has happened to people in America. Injecting black people with syphilis, for example, just to study them. Yeah. That was not too long ago, like 50, 75 years ago, something like that. Might have been only 50 years ago. I don't know exactly. It was pretty sure it's in my lifetime. Yeah, poison the water. And it only takes one particle per 4 billionth of poison to actually kill a person with certain drugs. They dump that kind of stuff in the ocean. But look, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and see what it is like in the art of war by Sun Tzu. He talks about these maneuvers and everything, deception, and so this is what Donald Trump is doing, right? So somebody, there might be multiple reasons why he's bringing the army to protect himself at the White House, because he's doing such astounding stuff, outrageous stuff. There's no doubt that there are a lot of people want to kill him, and he's wicked. And it would not be a sin either to kill him, take him out. And this is according to the law of Sun Tzu. Sometimes if you don't strike first, you're gonna die. Yeah. There's a difference between being a bully and being like a Zorro, or maybe like a Lone Ranger, or somebody who fights, for a good cause. because the world we live in, sometimes you got to play by the rules. Just like, like now they're trying to gerrymander, like Texas and stuff, like, do stuff, and they're talking about, okay, Democrats need to fight fire with fire. All right, if these are the new rules, then we got to play by the new rules, the code of the road, and stuff like that. So you find yourself in a situation where you don't really want to have to kill somebody or anything like that, but that's the way we're taught. All right, they sent us to Vietnam. All right, to kill these people for what? Nuking Iran, starving Gaza, all this stuff, man. People are dying and suffering. They're dying and suffering at America's hand. So sometimes, man, what rules are you going to play by? People go through some shit. And right now, Donald Trump is feeding America a bunch of shit. Trying to set a narrative, trying to say, okay, putting out certain news, for example, and then this is how you build a narrative. You put out some news, and then after you put out this news, then you say, well, based on what everybody is believing, that we're going to have to do this. So what do? They defund, like the CDC, for example, the disease control, Center for Disease Control. And so if another virus comes out like COVID or something, which actually, came from a laboratory, and kill off a bunch of people. Okay, well, it might be the way that and this is the co-ops of the CIA, for example. They just do stuff. If people gotta die, okay, secretly they just put out a virus or something and kill off a bunch of people. It won't cost the government so much money no more for Social Security or whatever. They make it happen, and people that are warmongers and stuff, they know how to make it happen. There's a lot of different stratas in society. There's some people that fight, and there's some people that are like trying to help people, like doctors and stuff like that. Yeah. And you know what? Now it may be that we're coming to the end of this human experience, because according to what the stuff they document, it don't look good. And to me, it looks like there's a repeat of the rise of the Third Reich in Germany under Nazi regime. As well, like, but hopefully sometimes I hear stuff, and when I listen to the reporters, okay, they know and they report. The good ones, they report, and they report from the primary sources. Okay? It's like what this judge said, and this judge said that the DOJ is saying, yeah, they want to release his stuff. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit, because they already got all the third party kind of stuff and all the people that were involved in the Epstein network. Okay, they already got that, and the judge ain't got that. And he said, look, you're not if the public is interested in that, you're not getting it by subpoenaing these, by releasing these court documents. Okay, the stuff that the people want is actually in the hand of the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and they don't want to release it, and they want to change the narrative, and they want to keep Donald Trump in control. Anyway, 34 minutes, So look, these are the times that I live in right now. I already gave the date. This is August 12th, I think. August 12th, 2025. And, and so I showed this thing right here. Right? That's it. That comes from a judge setting the record straight and telling America, don't eat the bullshit. Call this one, don't eat bullshit, don't eat the bullshit. All right, bye.